hear me now?
Hey, Jeff, there you go.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Somehow I don't do that. Okay. So I have Daniel Cho, Jay Johnston, Jan, Jim Neighbors. I assume it's Jim Hart because it's unverified. I have Michael Van. I see Jim. There's the answer to the question. I see him. Okay. We are at a recorded line. The video is being recorded as usual. Thank you, Lewis, for coming in. Okay. It is a little bit at 2 minutes before 7, but we are here, and let me go over the agenda, and I'm going to share the agenda just so that we can see what we have. And share content, share Foxfire, share. Okay, so you should see now on your screen.
File not found.
Hold on. Let's go. I want to show here. And I want to remind everybody that we're now using the 2024 email addresses. So when I open the agenda, we're obviously doing the 2024 membership drive. And the 4 items on the agenda are the Agape Housing Chantilly House rezoning and special exception. There's a staff report. You can see the links to that in the Board of Supervisors hearing. Now, this is Thursday, December 14th. There's a planning commission. So, Michael, has that happened already?
The planning commission for the SSPA has already occurred, but not for the rezoning or special exception.
Okay. Going down the list, we're also going to discuss the proposed casino referendum, and then we'll talk a little bit about Chantilly Premier. And then we're going to talk about the zoning ordinance amendment rezoning outdoor lighting regulations. Ignore this one apart. So let's turn it over to Michael. I'm going to open up his presentation that he sent in advance, and it's not found. So hold on, let me find out why it's not there. Oh, target. There's the answer. There we are. Okay, Mike, do you want to take it from there?
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, everyone, for having us and for being flexible with the weather and holidays and all that kind of stuff. But I hope everyone's staying dry and safe. But it is nice to see a little bit of snow this winter. I'm Mike Benata. I'm a land use planner with the law firm McGuire Woods, speaking on behalf of the property owner and the applicant, Agape Property Management LLC. Also with me is Daniel Choi with Agape Property Management. And we have some members from our consultant team as well that are on hand for some of the Q&A. And I can introduce them as needed when we get to that point. But again, we are here for a follow-up presentation for the Agape House Chantilly project. It's located at 3870 Centerview Drive, and that's proposing a rezoning and a concurrent special exception to develop a fully affordable, independent living facility with a supporting adult daycare center. So at a very high level, this will be the single largest infusion of new affordable units in Chantilly in recent history, perhaps if not ever. But it's also going to strategically co-locate those affordable senior living options with high quality amenities and supportive services, including an adult daycare center. You may recall our presentation from early in 2023. We presented the initial site-specific plan amendment, or the SSPA, which proposes to amend the comprehensive plan specific to the property in order to permit an option for independent living use. Our presentation tonight will focus on the details of the concurrent rezoning and the special exception. But as we had noted, the SSPA is moving forward. I can talk a little bit more about schedule at the end of the presentation, but the SSPA has gone to the Planning Commission and has received a recommendation from the Planning Commission for adoption, but that will be heading to the board next week on the 23rd. But again, we're going to focus on the zoning applications for tonight. Jeff, if you wouldn't mind hitting the next slide, please. Perfect. So just just as a refresher, Agape Property Management is a subsidiary of Agape Health Management, Inc., which is a family-owned business, owned and managed business that passionately believes in caring for our community's aging populations and making sure that they're set up for success. They own and operate 3 adult daycare facilities in Northern Virginia, and so they're providing quality care to elderly and disabled individuals. But really, as a part of that robust experience, they've experienced, or they're acutely aware of the affordable housing crisis that is uniquely impacting the county's aging population. And so, they're seeing that as a part of the folks that are participating in their daycare centers. And so building off the success of their daycare facilities, they see an opportunity to partner with an experienced affordable housing developer to logically co-locate affordable senior housing with their well-established daycare services. Next slide, please. I just want to provide a little bit of background on the property's context. It's located along Thunderbolt Place in the Dulles Business Park, west of Centerville Road and north of Route 50. It's well situated within close proximity to some compatible uses and nearby amenities, including hotels on 3 sides, restaurants, retail, medical care, as well as other residential uses. There's reasonable pedestrian infrastructure in the area, as well as existing transit opportunities in the form of bus stops, as well as future BRT along Route 50 within walking distance. Next slide, please. Zooming in a bit closer, this is one of the last remaining vacant properties in the Dulles Business Park, probably the only vacant property with any real size to it. It actually has a dated approval for additional hotel uses that were never constructed. Notwithstanding, it is a terrific site. It's got the benefit of being located adjacent to existing scenic and recreational amenities. And as I'll discuss in a little bit, the concurrent zoning proposes to integrate the development with those amenities through building orientation and design, as well as by delivering new complementary public open spaces on this site. Next slide, if you would. So getting to the meat of what we're proposing, the proposed zoning applications will rezone this property from the I-5 district to the C4 district with the concurrent special exception for the independent living facility and the adult daycare center. This development is proposing up to 228 independent living units, although it is possible that number goes down as we continue to examine the final bedroom mix. So some of those units might wind up getting larger and with more bedrooms, and therefore that number may come down. But notwithstanding, all of the units in the facility will be committed affordable at 60% AMI or lower, and the development will be constructed, operated, and maintained by the affordable housing developer, with Agape operating a new state-of-the-art adult daycare center on the ground floor. The independent living units will be specifically designed and equipped with universal design features to accommodate the needs of seniors, and the overall facility will, of course, be designed with the enhanced ADA accessibility in mind. Within the facility, there'll be a range of on-site amenities in addition to the adult daycare, such as an on-site pharmacy, visiting doctor's office, physical therapy room, and fitness and recreation areas. And on-site staff will be made available to facilitate and support the daily living of the facility's residents. So things like nursing and other supervision as needed. And there's also the opportunity to provide a range of services, including transportation, meal services, coordinating with third-party providers for in-home care and other related medical and supportive services as needed. But that being said, this is independent living, and so I think the folks be a little more mobile and be able to participate in activities and all that sort of stuff, which is why we think the full sort of suite of amenities is important here. Vehicular access is accommodated by 2 new access points off of Thunderbolt Place, and there are separate entrances and drop-off areas for the independent living facility, as well as the adult daycare uses within the overall facility. Next slide, please, Jeff. There we go. So architecturally, the building will include up to 5 stories and will be designed to be compatible with the surrounding properties and designed with high-quality building materials, including appropriate noise mitigation in accordance with county policies. On that topic, the site is mostly located within the DNL 60 to 65 airport contour line, which does permit residential development with appropriate noise mitigation disclosure. The building itself is being sited outside of the 65 to 70, which does not permit residential. We did do a noise study for the site, and that actually yielded a 24-hour average of DNL 54 dBA. And so looking at that, we're confident that the proposed building will have no issues meeting those indoor sound levels of 45 dBA, which is the county policy standard. Notwithstanding, we are making robust proper commitments in accordance with county policy and precedents, including performance objectives for noise mitigation, to make sure that those interior noise levels are down to the appropriate levels. And as a part of that, there's post-development noise testing that will occur, as well as disclosure in all of the marketing and lease materials of the proximity to the airport and potential for aircraft-generated noise, and a recorded navigation easement over the property. This is a rendering of the front of the building that you're looking at on the screen. Not pictured are the adjacent hotels, but it really was designed that sort of blend into the adjacent hotels that are nearby. Jeff, if you wouldn't mind, flip it to the next slide, please.
Okay, hold on. Life goes on. Here we go. And there we go.
There you go. This is a rendering of the rear of the building. I think I mentioned the building has been sited to maximize the view shed of the adjacent scenic amenities. And in this case, is a really nice pond out there that also provides stormwater management for the site. This application is also providing additional stormwater management measures on a property in accordance with the objectives of the Dulles Suburban Center. And so while this pond, was totally designed to, back when the hotel was approved, that wasn't built, this pond, was accommodating stormwater management for that. But because the Dulles Suburban Center has elevated targets for stormwater management, we will have some additional bioretention facilities on the property itself to complement what's going on with the pond here. But it does provide a really unique scenic and recreational amenity. I guess, Jeff, if you wouldn't mind flipping to the next slide, is a good graphic of kind of the overall site design. And so there's an existing public trail around the perimeter of the pond. And so we'll be making new connections and integrating public open space amenities with this existing trail around the pond. And also committing to some trail improvements to ensure that there is safe and adequate pedestrian accessibility for that trail. The new public park space, which is located just north of the pond, that will consist of new landscaping, seating areas, exercise stations, game tables, and a grilling overlook to sort of really activate that portion of the property. There's also a private courtyard that will be a gated, secure area. They'll have a range of programmed amenities as well, such as garden area and a yoga area. And so, while the design, really is sort of focused around this pond amenity and the related open space amenities, safety is certainly a paramount objective here. Fortunately, this pond is designed with an appropriate aquatic bench. So it's sort of this shallow bench that's around the perimeter of the pond, just below the water's edge. And then you've got a riprap buffer as well along the periphery of that pond. We will be doing some improvements to the pond trail, as I mentioned. So that's going to consist of repairing some asphalt, replacing some additional riprap along as a buffer along the pond edge, and as well as adding some additional landscaping around the northern portion of the pond for further buffers. And we'll also be doing some signage, highlighting the recreational amenities, but certainly cautioning safe use of the pond trail. And then there'll be operational components of the facility as well to make sure that folks are using everything appropriately. And again, there will be a nice gated access to the private courtyard. Next slide, please. Sticking on the theme of safety, I guess, we have put a lot of thought into pedestrian safety and accessibility. We'll be constructing a new 6-foot wide trail along the entire frontage of the property with additional high visibility connections to the building. We are committing to install 2 new pedestrian crosswalks, one across Thunderbolt Place, adjacent to the site, and then one further off-site at the intersection of Thunderbolt Place and Centerview Drive. And that one will, because of the speed limits on Centerview Drive, that one will include a rapid flashing beacon. And then we'll also be doing additional striping.
Is that shown?
Yeah,
Where would that be?
Yeah, so if you're looking at the screen, there's 2 crosswalks that are going. One is going across Thunderbolt Place. They're shown in blue. So one is, that's the one that's kind of right next to the site. And then the other one is all the way, there it is. Yep, that's the one that's going across Centerview. So that will have the rapid flashing beacon.
Okay, well, let me ask a silly question. Pedestrians who are here, and these people are supposed to be cognizant and able to walk on their own, right?
Yes.
Wouldn't they want to get to the CVS and stores across Centerville Road?
I think so.
And so how would they get there from here? What it looks like they're going to have to go down Route 50 and across. There's no interparcel connection between Centerview and Centerville. Is that, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, that's correct. You're really, I guess you're probably technically trespassing if you're walking across those properties, and it's not.
Well, what about this?
Walk, that would be, that's still not that's not a public connection. That's private.
But there is an exit here onto this road, and there's an exit here. There's a traffic light. This is the shopping center, is it not, where the 7-Eleven gas station is right here?
Yep.
So in my mind, it would seem to me, for my own personal benefit, that this walkway gets them nowhere. A walkway here, and you have these paths here. This would be a much better walk, access crosswalk than this, because this doesn't get them closer to where they want to go. This, if they're crossing the street, why does a chicken cross the road? To get to the other side. So if they're crossing the road to get to the other side, this doesn't get them where they want to go. They want to go here. They're here. My personal thought is this is where that would be much better off for the people who will live in this facility. Thank you.
I don't disagree with that at all, Jeff. That would be, in terms of sort of the shortest and most convenient path. I agree. That's a direct shot, and we can reach out to the business park and those owners to see if they're willing to entertain a connection through there, because that's a straight shot. But at the end of the day, at least you do what we would be doing is making those connections, because right now there is no crosswalk across Centerview Drive at all.
Understand.
And so you would at least be getting that, and there are existing pedestrian facilities. With the two crosswalks that we're proposing, you will at least have full connectivity to those amenities. It may not be as convenient as that, I agree. So
but
we can look into that.
I assume these people are not going to drive. How much parking do you have for your residents?
We'll be meeting the ordinance requirements for parking. But that being said, I do think a lot of folks are not going to be owning cars, and we're actually going to be relying on shuttle service. I think that's something we're committing to in the proffers.
Okay,
we have
I agree.
139 parking spaces.
I understand that. That's why. And if you've been in a college quad, you know that the pedestrians walk the corners. They don't go 90 degrees. They cut. And my thought to this would be that. All right, just go on. That was just what I had to say.
That's a great point. I'm jotting that down, because we do have a great relationship with the business park, as well as we've been doing a lot of outreach on the different properties, so that's definitely something we can explore. And I guess sticking on that theme, with sort of pedestrian safety and all that, we are going to be installing some additional striping along Thunderbolt Drive to preclude street parking. And that's to ensure vehicular sight distance, which will also slow vehicles down and alert them to pedestrians as they're walking along there or going towards those crosswalks. And then we'll have some additional pedestrian connections being made to the pond trail and the adjacent hotel property. So we are, going to be tying into that adjacent hotel property. So you're right, folks are going to be able to walk through the Staybridge Suites and then over to Centerview Drive from there. Let's go to the next slide, and we can always come back to the site context if we need to. So just to sort of wrap us up, really we're excited because this offers a unique opportunity to simultaneously address the county goals of increasing affordable housing and increasing housing options for older physically disabled adults. Obviously in accordance with a lot of different county policies and equity goals, including one Fairfax, but at a minimum, it's developing a productive use for a vacant property that has an outdated and obsolete zoning approval for additional hotel uses, modernizing the Dulles Business Park, and creating enhanced viability for the future. We've had robust outreach with the business park, and they think it's a great idea. They like the direction of the business park. They like the idea that it can sort of support the existing businesses that are out there, providing new customers to the hotels and restaurants and all that. With this development, there are fewer impacts and better compatibility than what can be permitted by right, such as office use, even though I don't know how much office is really being constructed. Although this area of the world does see a little bit more with some of the agencies and all that out here. But in particular, there'll be a significant reduction in vehicular trips compared to by right uses, which isn't directly in line with the goals of the Dulles Suburban Center comprehensive plan. And as described, we are committing to a full package of pedestrian and open space improvements to integrate this property with the surrounding neighborhood and create a safe, connected, and amenitized community. And one more slide, I think, Jeff, is just on schedule quickly to circle back to that. We have gone before the Healthcare Advisory Board. They did recommend approval of the special exception for the adult daycare center. That was what's in their purview. And then again, the SSPA has progressed and has a recommendation for adoption by the county staff, as well as the Fairfax County Planning Commission. The Board of Supervisors public hearing for the SSPA is scheduled for Tuesday, January 23rd, so that's coming up soon. And then Planning Commission for the zoning application is scheduled for February 7th, 2024, and Board of Supervisors is February 20th, 2024. So I think I can probably pause there and see if we have any other questions or comments. Appreciate everyone's time.
I'm going to open this up to comments and see if there's any chats. So I'm going to stop I'm going to continue sharing this because people might want me to refer back to a certain page. Okay, so anybody in the peanut gallery wish to have a comment? Please go forward. I'm not going to call on you. Just don't step on everybody's toes.
Looks good, Jeff.
Identify yourself, please. Hello, was that Jan?
It's John Litzenberger first.
I know that was John. I could recognize John, but anybody who was the second person? Hello, anybody there? Okay. Let me.
I have a question.
Identify yourself again.
This is Cynthia.
Cynthia, go ahead.
Thank you for the presentation. One of the things I was concerned about is you said, the noise is being mitigated in accordance with the county policy and precedents. Exactly how are you attaining noise levels inside of the building? And then is there going to be an area outside of the building either somehow protected from the noise, or is that not being considered at all?
Great question, Cynthia. Appreciate you bringing that up. In generally, yes, those are things that we've had to look very closely at. In terms of how we are mitigating noise on the property, sort of as it works, the noise measurement being 54 dBA on average, or even if you assume that the noise contours of 60 to 65 being the average noise out there from related to aircraft noise. Standard building construction typically yields a reduction in noise of about 20 dBA. So that's going to get you down to likely about that 45 dBA that we need to hit, if not below. That being said, there are a lot of ways that we can, and we probably will be, adding additional sort of building construction measures to make sure that the building itself is really getting down below those levels. And so, some of those main things are just additional insulation and thicker windows can really make a huge difference in that noise mitigation inside the building. And we've seen that very successful in some other areas or some other projects as well. In terms of the outdoor areas, we're definitely not gonna have like a bubble or anything like that can really protect from the higher, the airport noise. But that being said, we did focus the main outdoor amenities to make sure that they were not in the 65 to 70 contour, which is just on the western side of the property. And so the main sort of active areas, the courtyard, the building itself, frankly, but the main active areas are situated away from that. And so you're getting a little bit further from those louder noise contours. And so that was something that we looked at when doing the site design.
Okay, and the reason why I asked is I live in like a 65 decibel zone right now, and it is a challenge sometimes, especially in any kind of outdoor setting, and you have people who are a little hard of hearing. It becomes worse. It gets frustrating for them and frustrating for those of us who are visiting. So so this is why I had asked that question.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Appreciate that. And
I am going to share something.
Yep.
And hold on, I'm going to share it from another map platform. So 1 second, I'm going to stop sharing here. Okay, and there was a chat comment. Okay, here is some chats. Okay. Okay, so Lewis, you can hear now, I assume, Lewis? He can't hear. He's always having trouble. All right, we're hearing everything and seeing captions easy. Hello? All right, so here's the quote. Here's the question. And the question was, do they know if staff communicated with the MWA and were there any comments?
You know, I actually don't know that answer. Typically, MWA engages. I think MWA may have even reached out to you all on this project. I'm not sure if they submitted any formal comments to staff. I don't think they did, given that we never received any. We at least receive all the agency comments. But I can follow up with staff on that.
Okay, here's a comment from Louis Grimm. Since my speaker and microphone seem to be acting up, I do have a comment regarding the pedestrian circulation graphic shown. Good system overall, but we need to ensure simple and easy access from this new apartment complex to Centerville Road, where there's existing fixed route bus service. Should identify the current bus stop locations along Centerville Road. And my assumption is that this reinforces my comments earlier about they want to take the most direct route there. Okay, the next comment was from Jim. I thought Mike said the business is not in the 60 to 65 contour, is in the 60 to 65. Is that under the 93 contours that the Board of Supervisors is still using? Would the noise contour be different if the updated noise contours have been adapted? Did anything change in that?
Yeah, that's a good question too. Fortunately for this property, the contours really don't change on the property if you're using the 93 or the 2019 contours. In fact, if you look at MWA's 2019 contours that Fairfax County has not yet adopted, I'm not sure if they're going to. It's the
and shame on them if they don't. But okay, go ahead.
Yeah. The 60 to 65 for this property actually moves slightly west. It's about the same, but the graphics I've seen, it's about the same, maybe even move slightly west. They actually get a little bit more property in the 60 to 65. So the short answer is noise contours don't get any worse if you're using the 2019. They might even get slightly better in this instance.
Okay, here's another comment from Louis Grimm. I'd also want to speak with FCDOT about having them construct the missing sidewalk section on your side of Thunderbolt Drive to Centerville Road. Never a good idea to require senior citizens, others to cross the suburban business center street to access the sidewalk.
Yeah. I think that's a great idea. We've been coordinating extremely closely with FCDOT on the pedestrian connectivity in the area. But yeah, I think if there was room for a sidewalk along there and they were interested in doing that, that'd be great.
Or you could proffer it. MWA has concerns about new residential and noisy areas, but they aren't always notified. And another question from Jim, is there any archaeological issues on the site?
No archaeological issues on this site, fortunately. Dealt with that in other areas somewhat nearby, but fortunately not on this one. And I know that MWA is aware of this proposal.
Okay.
And, we do also have in the proffers a navigation easement, so that goes straight to MWA.
Okay. So last week at our December Sully District meeting, Michael Cooper, a representative of MWA, attended. He provided us this video, which I'm going to share and then play. So hold on now. And I'm going to share this. And hopefully this will work, and I hope you can hear it. I don't know if you can hear this. Can you? You can see the plane.
No, we can't hear it.
Okay, let me play
No.
around and see if I can turn on the volume. Okay, can't hear the plane. That's what people are saying. So hold on now. Let me go to WebEx. And WebEx, and here it is. And I'm going to unmute myself. And let's see if this works. You can't hear. Okay.
No, that being said, I had seen that video from the the last meeting. So it, definitely, can obviously hear the plane, quite well when you're watching that video.
Okay, hold on. Okay, now we're going to try it again. It just said it needed it. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing it. But I wanted you to be aware of what Michael Cooper, who has concerns, has provided us in advance of your meeting. And now I'm going to unmute myself on one machine so I'm not on both. Okay, so that's what you wanted to see. Okay, so now everybody did hear it the second time around?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so this goes back to Cynthia's comment. On the average, it might be quiet, but when it's not, it's extremely not. So it's, on the average, I'm a good kid, but when I'm bad, I'm very bad. And that's the quote from someplace else. In addition, I've just been told I'm getting hearing aids. So Cynthia, I appreciate that. Maybe I could turn them off when I walk around this area. Okay. Okay. Anything else going on? Any other comments?
Yeah, Jeff, I have a question. I was just wondering if regarding that the airplane noise, I was wondering, has technology gotten to the point where there might be an affordable active noise suppression using microphones that might be able to work at least in a small area outside? They have noise suppression, headphones. I was wondering if something like that there might be something like that on a larger area.
I really have, I'm not sure if that's sort of, you're thinking about something that actually goes on the property to kind of mitigate noise, or like headphones that people would wear.
No, not headphones. I was actually thinking of whether there might be some sort of, I think there are speaker systems, for example, that would, you take the noise from a microphone and you generate negative sound to reduce the levels.
That's interesting. I'd be fascinated to see how something like that could be applied. In this instance, we go back to, we're very confident that the building design, can mitigate those noise levels down to below 45 dBA. And, again, the outdoor courtyard's been sited further back, further from those flight paths. So, that's really what we're looking at here. It's interesting.
Okay.
I have one more question. This is Cynthia. Have you, I know that you don't have a whole lot of parking there. It does seem that you have some, though. Has there been any consideration to maybe doing any kind of solar panels or anything over the parking to assist with additional electrical power requirements?
The parking is all above. None of it's structured parking, so it's all just sort of surface parking.
Which can be seen here. I'm assuming this is the only this is your residential parking?
Yeah, right. It's all sort of surface parking. There's 139 parking spaces. The overall building and site will be green building certified. We will have some commitments for EV charging stations. I think we can continue to look into opportunities to sort of make the project more sustainable. But, one of the things that we're, candidly grappling with is with an affordable development like this, we're relying on LIHTC, low-income housing tax credit financing to essentially make the project work. But that, gets very complicated and includes a lot of different sources from, hopefully Virginia Housing, possibly the county, possibly other sources. But it basically becomes a challenge to start adding things. Solar panels can be extremely, extremely expensive from what I understand. And so, while I don't want to say that's not possible, it's something we would have to greatly consider as, we're navigating, park improvements and contributions and all that sort of stuff. So it's definitely things that, we need to sort of work out to, make sure that the development still pencils out for the, kind of what we're looking for here. But it's an interesting comment.
Mike?
Yeah, I guess sorry, may I just continue one moment? And the reason why I asked this too is because I know that the county often for residents has incentives for adding solar to the roofs, for example. And if you're looking at saving on energy and electrical costs, because we know that those are expensive in Virginia and are only going to go up, mostly because of the data center industry. But we know that your expenses for electricity are going to go up. So I'm just trying to think ahead of time. You might want to put that stuff in now before you spend all this money on electricity and other things where maybe you could have mitigated that in the beginning.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. It's definitely something we can explore to see if that's something that makes sense to sort of help on the back end, and if nothing more, just make sure we're not precluding that opportunity in the future.
Mike, this is Jim.
Hey, Jim.
I think the answer you just gave is right. We're not going to preclude anything, but the reality is that, especially for affordable housing, without financial incentives provided by the state or local government, the economics just don't make sense. All it does is force us to increase rents across the board to the maximum allowed under the tax credit program, and that's not what we want to do. It's perfectly possible that at some point there will be some incentives that would make the economic justification for solar or other sustainable energy choices a lot more realistic. We're not precluding it, but it's not economically advantageous at the moment.
And just by way of introduction, Jim Edmondson is with Wellington Development Partners, and they are the affordable housing developer who are partnering with Agape on the property. And so they will be constructing and operating the affordable housing component.
Would you have any covered parking at all?
No, the parking will be just surface parking. Other than some tree cover, you see in the graphic.
It's in an affordable housing project, you're basically prevented from charging extra for parking. So it's not likely that it's ever going to become public that we charge for it.
Okay, any other questions? I have some, but let's see if there's anybody else.
I have one more, Jeff.
Please.
Steve. I was just curious if you anticipate that electricity would be your basically your sole form of energy.
In doing tax credit financing with the state, that is clearly the direction they want to go. It would be, I guess it would be theoretically possible to use gas for heating or cooking, but that it doesn't get you the same points when you're competing to get allocations. You want to do the most sustainable things possible, and electricity is now considered the preferred utility choice.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, John had a question, but he couldn't hear it. And what was the question, John?
Oh, I had a question that, on the, affordable dwelling units, what was the percentage again?
Well, 100% of the units will be 60% AMI or lower. The final, it's possibly those income levels are much lower. But I think that's still sort of being worked out. I don't know, Jim or Seth, if you've got any other ideas about, where that may land. But yeah, the idea, every single unit would be considered affordable at least at 60% AMI or lower.
And you're getting funding from the housing authority for this too?
We would like to.
Okay.
That has not been confirmed yet. Would be a discussion post zoning.
Yeah,
Have you
Mike, that's
applied for it?
correct. Anyone at or below 60% of the area median income would qualify to live here.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
great. Thank you. We need that.
any other questions?
Yeah, going back to what Cynthia had commented on about the ambient noise in the area. And I appreciate the fact that this is designed to be, 100% affordable units. And I really applaud that. Given that people who are moving into independent living are elderly, and a lot of them, as Cynthia points out, do have hearing difficulties, the ambient noise is something, especially outside, that I think is going to have to be addressed in order to make an environment that people are going to feel comfortable in. And also, there are so many stages of independent living. And I know this because my husband and I are investigating this option for ourselves, that, many people are barely on the edge of being able to maintain independent status. And so to have these variabilities in ambient noise would be very, very distressing for people. And so I would hope that the interior amenities, and sorry to back up, I hope that, the shuttle bus service, will be well coordinated with the existing bus service that's out there. I hope you're going to get that connection through the business park. People want to walk. It's healthful for people to be able to be outside in the natural environment, in the semi-urban environment. But a lot of these people are going to be beholden to gathering their social and physical nourishment from within the structure. So I certainly hope that there's going to be ample room inside the building for exercise rooms and all kinds of activities and social activities, that this is something that's not going to be skimped on, because I have a feeling that given the environs, these people will be in the building a lot, except for when they're waiting for the shuttles or to get on the bus. But again, I really do applaud the effort, and I wish you good luck in the design phase. Thank you.
Hey guys, I thought that was really well said. We share a lot of those same goals. We really want to, one thing that's great is with the adult daycare center that's a part of this, integrated into this facility, you have that option then for sort of an extra level of on-site amenities and programming. And if you've ever been to any of Agape's facilities they have elsewhere in the county, it's pretty amazing that the level of activity that they have in those facilities. And then obviously anything that, there'll be other things within the independent living too, to sort of make sure it's amenitized and got that sense of community and all of that. But, notwithstanding, I think we really do want to pay attention to the outdoor design as well to see if we feel pretty comfortable that we can make those comfortable spaces. And a lot of that's going to have to do with the landscaping, greening it up, some of the building materials to see if we can, mitigate noise bouncing off and stuff like that. But I thought that was really well said.
And Mike, tied to that point as well, we just delivered a senior building in Loudoun County sometime last year or the year before. But within that building, like we have a mobile market for our senior residents. We do a public library lobby stop. We do lunch and learns and dinner and discussions. We have health resources. We have on-site dental exams. We have senior fitness programming. Like we do chair yoga because they enjoy doing stuff like that. So there was a lot of programming tied to like the housing that we have. So it's more than just like a box that people live in. Like you want to make sure it's a lively place because for that population, that building does become their life, right? And there could be a lot of anxiety about getting your medicine or like being around friends and family and activities. So we want to make sure we meet those needs, and having a nonprofit partners as well as ourselves, make sure that we find a way to deliver those services for our residents. So in terms of what's happening inside the building, it'll be a lively and dynamic place.
That's great. I'm glad you're planning for that. And having sat on the now ancient Dulles South Suburban Comprehensive Plan Committee, I know from that when noise did become an issue, it did become clear from research that was available at that time, and I don't know whether technology has changed, that really you were looking for exterior recreation spaces. You did need to have some sort of an overhead bubble. And I hope there will be some areas on the site that will have more than foliage to protect it from the aircraft noise. Thanks.
Okay, any other questions before I go on mine? Okay, number
I
one.
saw a chat come in about universal design, and the building will have, be universal design.
Okay, so number
I don't
one,
know if that was,
Wi-Fi. Are you going to have Wi-Fi throughout, or are each of the 228 affordable independent living apartments going to need their own cable and Wi-Fi?
So I was on a call about this morning with one of our firm's partners, and Virginia Housing incentivizes the developer to provide free Wi-Fi for their residents. So we would meet those requirements.
Excellent. What about cable?
Jim, I'm not sure if we've done that. Yeah, I can't speak to that, but I can speak to Wi-Fi and that we would provide that.
So everybody has their own 228 smart TVs, each of them assigned to either Roku, Amazon, or whatever other product you have, and they each try to stream a video at the same time. Will that work?
Yeah, I think the demands would be less intense for a senior development compared to a family development where you have people like playing video games on computers, multiple people in the household.
Oh, I understand.
So we haven't had an issue. Yeah.
What I'm saying is it's not that 5 people in an apartment will be doing it, but there are 228 people, and during the evening hours before they go to bed at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, many of them will be on their TVs. And so
I think it's a good point, Jeff. My experience is, even in senior living or not, even in like a lot of the multifamily, just sort of conventional residential buildings, it hasn't been a huge issue these days. Is the bandwidth has been there to support the, everyone who's on there, whatever sort of the modern, streaming services are, and it's obviously evolving, and cable's getting more integrated with that these days. But we can maybe get back to you with a little bit more details on that. But my experience has been that those have been, there hasn't really been issues on sort of bandwidth for those sorts of buildings.
okay, the next question is, what is your RPPT? Since this is a adult daycare center, what's your residents per pool table ratio?
As many, we'll try to get as many pool tables in there as we can. And I think, recommendations for activities like that is a great one. But if we're, as Seth said, finding ways to amenitize the facility is important. Jeff, you actually remind me. I'll share sort of a personal story of mine. When my grandfather, who had a lot of heartburn about moving to he went to he wound up living in Green Spring and Springfield for a while, and he did not want to go. But he needed to because my grandma. Once he got there, he settled in. He had a lot of friends, but he was hustling people on that pool table all the time. It was so good to see how happy he was with that pool table. So stuff.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You need a residence per pool table. I don't know what that ratio is, but
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody has a suggestion.
sure it's a good one.
Dartboards. Aside from the amenities for recreation purposes, are you going to have a breakfast, lunch, and dinner bar where some of these people may not want to cook 3 square meals a day, but go downstairs and see if they can get something? And maybe 5 of them will sit at a table, they're regulars, and they will want to have breakfast together rather than each in their own room separately. Is there going to be a facility where people can commune together and chow together?
I mean, I think the answer is yes. I would defer to Seth or Jim on kind of exactly how they think that might go at this point, or kind of what they've done at their other facilities. But generally, the food service is something that that would be looking at providing. I'm just not exactly sure how that sort of, if we know what that setup looks like yet.
I'm not expecting Green Springs where people don't cook in
Right.
their own room, but eat in the main venue. But I do believe that people will want to commune together and have a beer or lunch or something, and you need to have that facility.
Well,
Go ahead.
Independent living does not include meals or much in the way of medical care. I think, Jeff, what you're describing is what would be called CCRCs, continuing care retirement communities, that have a whole array of services provided in different types of housing. That's not what's being proposed here.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is you have 228 affordable independent living apartments. I will imagine that some of those ladies, guys, coeducational, such and such, would like to eat together on a basis. And rather than going from each person's house or apartment, which might not be big enough to have a meal for 4 people or 5 people at dinner or lunch, there should be a communal area. And rather than having them walk to Joe's Pizza crossing Centerview and whatever the other place was, you ought to have a venue where people who wish to buy their meals and meet together can do so.
We'll have a community room, and that's what I referenced earlier about having lunch and learns and dinner and discussions where we actually have the programming around.
Well, that's lunch and learn is different than, hey, let's all meet tomorrow for breakfast.
I have to agree with Jeff on this one because my mother, I've been down looking at several facilities where she lives, and they all, for independent living, offer a dining area where they do serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now it's at a set time, each of the facilities we've looked at. And if you miss that set time, well, you're out of luck, but they do have that. So I'm a little bit shocked that that's not being offered here.
That's what I'm just saying is that this is an adult daycare center. It's independent living. People will form cliques and clacks and want to do it together. You need to make in my mind, this is an amenity that makes this a community rather than 228 people living in their own identical cubicles. And I don't think that's what you want. That's what I don't think this is what it should be. And so that's a comment for you.
Thank you. We take it. We have community spaces. The question is, how organized will some of those community spaces be to accommodate diners? We'll figure that out.
And not that they're going to cook up in their meal and bring it down.
You.
Okay. The other item is I see on this picture that's in front of you, the dashing that you're planning to put to slow traffic. Is there a bike path on that road? There are bike paths, for example, on if I go up or down, hold on. If I go up onto Centerview Drive, they've put a bike path where there used to be parking. And so where you have the slashes here, they have a bike path. The people who live here might wish to ride their bikes, and it might not be a bad idea to have that not as just a slash to prevent parking, but as marked for a bike lane.
Yeah, and I think the problem here is the vehicular sight distance is, we don't want to put cyclists where they're in a blind spot of a driver. And so that's really, why those slashes are there is to, make sure that
that bike path is right here on Centerview. on either side. I biked it yesterday when I went to Walmart from my house. Right along here. If you can have it on this, you can have on Thunderbolt. Just a thought from as a biker talking, and a bicyclist, not a biker per se. Okay.
You know,
Okay.
one of the requirements for us to qualify to get financial assistance for affordable housing is to provide bike spaces, we're going to do it.
Yep.
So
We
you're
have
going to do it. Make it so that people who are traversing this road have a bike path to go on rather than on the sidewalk or such. It just makes sense. And if it's on Centerview, it can be on Thunderbolt. And is this a Thunderbolt Series 3 or Series 2? Is it Mac compatible? Never mind. Sorry. That's a technical question that you don't need to answer. Okay. Any other comments? Okay. I think we've heard a lot of people speaking in favor of this. And I also have heard various concerns. So here are some of the concerns that I'm going to do. And Jim, if you could write these down or summarize these as I say them, because one is a place for groups to eat together, possibly with meal service provided at a certain time, as mentioned earlier. Two, a more direct walkway to the shops at the Sully Plaza, which is at Centerville and Route 50, rather than going up to the current proposed crosswalk, one closer, a more direct path. The other one is, rather than just the dashed line here, include biking, a methodology for biking. We've heard some other people who are concerned about the noise level and want to know what your mitigation internally is, whether it's white noise or such. Did I list? Those are the ones I've heard. Does anybody else have comments on this?
Well, yes, I think they should have an area outside that is sound mitigated.
Okay, so that's the fourth item if I'm counting. So I'm not going to say that we have objections. We have concerns. And according to your schedule here, no, this is at the very bottom, was it? Okay, yeah. So the SSPA. Now, what is that? The site-specific plan amendment?
Correct.
So what we have mentioned is not a site-specific plan amendment level of concern. It is an RZSE level of concern. And it doesn't look like you're going to come back to us before February 7th, and February 20th, our next meeting is, today is the 15th, minus 3 is the 12th, plus 9 is the 19th. So we're going to be meeting on Monday the 19th, and you're going to have your Board of Supervisors meeting on Tuesday the 20th. Is that right?
That's correct.
I always try with a mod 7 math. Okay, so if you want a full endorsement, we want to hear back from you what you can do for our concerns. So at this time, we like the project. We have some concerns. We'd like those concerns addressed, either by an email back to us so that we can distribute this, or a small return on the 19th. Any other questions?
We'll get a written answer to you in 2 days.
That's fantastic, Jim.
Yep.
I appreciate that. And you
We
can see,
definitely get that done.
if you judge by the people who are facing on you at this meeting, many of us are of the age that we could be in this building if we needed to be. Okay? And you've heard from us what we would like to see if we were in an independent living in an adult daycare center. Okay? Oh, and the other question was what was again, how many pool tables and dart facilities that you have, the recreation facilities that you're going to have. I don't necessarily need that pools per resident, but something like that. Okay?
I think we've got it. Really,
okay. And the other question is, are you going to issue tags or stickers for the people who do park here?
yeah, we'll get back to you on that as well.
Because you said there's enough room for 129 parking spaces, you said?
I think we've got 139 spaces.
Okay, well, some of those are going to be staff, so we can't use that for just generic visitors. Some of them are going to be visitors. What percentage is your max percentage for residential parking? Not including staff and not including visitors. Well, how much, what staff level is this building going to be?
Yeah, we'll have to get back with you with those exact numbers.
And
so that's something
I
that-
can
where
give
is
you a
the
pretty
bus
clear-
route?
I can give you a pretty clear answer right now.
Thank you, Jim.
We will not have assigned parking spaces for
I never
people
said,
unless
I didn't
they're
say sign.
handicapped.
I
If
just
they've
talked
got a
about a
handicap,
sticker.
they'll
No,
have
not even that.
They'll have assignments.
Just if I'm parking here, I own a car, I bring it with me. Are you going to have a sticker I'm going to put in my windshield or a back window so that you know that I'm authorized to park here overnight
Sure.
as opposed to staff? And what percentage with 139 parking spaces, there's going to be staff? What's the size of staff in this? 50 people, 60 people?
Not at any one time, no. It won't be that
Okay.
many.
So we'd like to know the ratio of staff, visitor, and residential parking that you expect. Okay, and again, I say this as I envision what would happen if I was here. And you wouldn't want me. My mother was at Sunrise, and she aged in place until she needed 3 of the 5 necessities to continue her daily life. At what point do you kick people out of this? If you need 1 or 2 or 3, at one point does an independent living not become independent? And what arrangements do you have a social worker in here that will ease their movement to a restricted or a place with more intense care?
Yes, we will. The staff will be able to make evaluations about people who can no longer be accommodated in independent living.
Okay, and what do you have other than out the door, sir or ma'am?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
What will you do other than say, "Have a great day, ma'am," as you put outside?
We will certainly help them identify opportunities to move to assisted living.
Not just help them identify, will you help them move into?
No, that's not our job. The
Okay.
assisted living facility probably will.
Is there a social worker that will be visiting here and helping you as well?
Periodically, yes.
Okay.
Mike, there's a comment in the chat saying that the comment should be focused on land use. Is that your interpretation as well? Like, are these matters that we should be
No,
talking about?
I believe this is all part of, if we're going to create independent living facility, these are all questions that we should ask about an independent living facility. The last question I'll ask then is, and I was off track on that. Okay, I think I've given you enough gist of what I think here. Let me look at the chat and see what the chat was. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Chat. Here we are. I can find chat. Here's chat. And the chat was new chat. No, new chat. Okay. No objection, new taxes. The easement for a walkway. That was the question. We mentioned that easement for the walkway, right?
Yep, it's on our list.
Okay. So I think the next one is, will the people who move here require their own furniture? Will you have a set of furniture that you will need, or will they need to bring their own in? Do you have a standard unfurnished apartment or a furnished apartment?
Standard is unfurnished.
Okay, so people who move here are expected to bring their own in.
Yes.
Okay, things like that are important to know. Okay, then I think we've asked a lot of questions. Does anybody else have anything to add other than my questions?
No.
Okay, well, we thank you all for coming tonight on this wintry mixed night. They said that it's been 2 years since 15 January 2022, when the last measurable snow of any import fell on Northern Virginia.
Wild.
Anniversary.
Happy snowy anniversary.
All right. Well, thank you all for the good questions and the feedback. We'll get back to you all shortly, but really appreciate your time tonight.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And I only ask these questions because my mother was in a facility like a Sunrise facility. I know that's more advanced
Yeah, that's
And this-
assisted living.
It is,
Yes.
but this isn't. But seeing her live in the assisted living facility and knowing what an independent living facility is, there's a blend between the two, and some of the amenities in one can be and should be in the other. And I
Yeah.
thank you for coming.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Bye.
With that, we're going to turn over the floor to Jim and Lewis. Jim has a motion on the floor, a resolution. So let me go back to the just here and go back to here. And oh, one other point for the interest, if anybody wants, and this is for every time here, if I have published a meeting, so we have the videos for the previous meetings, and I don't show it here. All right, so I'm suggesting for our Sully District Council meeting on the 20th of December, in January, either public safety or fire and rescue. Do we have a choice between those two?
Is it possible to do fire rescue?
No,
Well, I'm going to find out from them, but I would, all right, with that benefit, fire and rescue is the one. Okay, so going down here, there is a resolution, and I'm going to bring up the draft resolution. This was a resolution that Jim Hart prepared, Lewis has modified, and I'm going to turn it over to Jim to, if he would, to explain the situation. Make sure you're unmuted, Jim. Thank you.
Okay. Well, you may remember that last year there were two bills introduced which would authorize a referendum on Fairfax County. Well, it was I think any county with a population over 1 million, although it would just be Fairfax County, to have a referendum on a casino. It would have to be outside the Beltway. It would have to be within some proximity to one of the Silver Line metro stations. Both of the bills were withdrawn last year before they were voted on, so nothing happened. Although the sponsors, it was Senator Marsden and Delegate Williams. The sponsors had announced that they were going to reintroduce expanded bills this year. And the expansion, at least as they described it, would be to include, I think, entertainment venues suitable for Taylor Swift concerts or some such. In any event, a number of groups and citizens came out against the idea of the casino going in, particularly in Reston. Comstock, which is a developer there, has apparently hired lobbyists and taken some steps toward putting together a casino for a station in Reston. Walter Alcorn, the Hunter Mills supervisor, had submitted a number of questions to the county executive about whether the casino would be allowable. And the county executive came back and said, probably yes, that it would be likely deemed a public entertainment use under ZMOD, which on some sites would probably require a special exception. On other sites, it might be by right. But that they didn't need a zoning ordinance amendment or a comp plan amendment necessarily to allow a casino. Since then, the legislation has not been introduced, or at least of about an hour ago. I mean, I've been checking it almost every day on the General Assembly website, and there's a lot of junk that's been introduced, but not the casino bills yet. Senator Marsden was supposed to introduce something a few days ago, but that's been delayed for some reason. In any event, Reston Association, Reston Citizens Association, McLean Citizens Association, and the Vienna Town Council had all come out against it. We would need to do something, I guess. If we were going to do anything, we would need to do it probably tonight, to be in advance of anything happening. If the legislation is introduced, we don't know the schedule, but it may go through before we meet again. And so it's difficult to comment on a bill that hasn't been filed because we don't know exactly what it says. Although the other groups have done that, and I tried to anticipate from the emails from Carol or whoever what I thought the concerns were going to be, or from the articles about the Reston folks who were going to be chartering buses and whatnot to go down to Richmond lobbying at some point when these bills go to committee or subcommittee. In any event, given all that, I drafted a resolution which I thought captured the concerns that I knew about. And I thought, well, this is a draft. If we're going to do something, we can fix it up. And as usual, I thought Lou would have good edits, and he did. And I agree with all of Lou's edits. The bill has several, or the resolution has several bullet points in it. I think that we are asking the Board of Supervisors to oppose the legislation, to not have the referendum if the legislation passes, to have staff look at amending the ordinance so that casino is not a by right use. It would authorize John and Jeff to speak or designate speakers. It would have the resolution communicated to various decision makers. I may be leaving something out of it, but I was trying to express what I thought our concerns were, even though we don't know what the bill is going to say exactly. I think as a practical matter, the most likely spot for a casino right now is one of the Comstock properties in Reston, although there are other places it could go, and theoretically, I think it could be the Innovation Route 28 Metro stop, or it could be. I mean, I think we still don't know what all is going to happen there. I think Carol had expressed some concerns that it could end up in Sully, even though we don't have a Sully. We don't have a Metro stop in Sully. We're close to it, but we're not there. I don't know. Depending on the language of the bill, I don't know if the casino could go in Sully or not. Although Dulles Suburban Center, as strange as it is, it's kind of anchored with the Innovation 28 Metro stop. It's a very attenuated shape, but what it did was it captured land unit J, which is getting a lot of other things, and made it sort of a metro stop area, even though nobody could walk from land unit J to the metro. In any event, we don't know whether it's going to be in Sully or not, although I think there's a lot of Sully people that are affected by what happens at the Hunter Mills stations. It could be in Tyson's, for that matter. And the McLean folks are against the casino going in Tyson's. I think we would have some similar concerns about something like a stadium, although I think that's going to end up now in Alexandria if it's anywhere. In any event, I've been going on and on, but that's sort of the overview of it. I put it on paper. I like Lou's edits. I think we probably should do something, and we probably should do something now. And I left in the resolution that we could submit additional ideas once we see the specifics of it.
Let me ask you, this talks about the silver line. In fact, more of our community is along the orange line, and we're silent about the orange line. And so would we be okay if they had a casino along the orange line?
No, but no one is talking about that. And I think it's the legislation contemplated it would be along the silver line.
I understand, but when was it the quote about Jefferson that when legislature's in session, nobody's house or property is safe?
Well, yeah, this is Lewis. Actually, I finally had to call in. My speaker doesn't seem to be working, but you're close on Jefferson. I think his comment was when the legislature is in session, no man's life, liberty, or property are safe.
And so I don't mind this. I would put silver in as well, just because I don't care what happens down in South County along the blue line and the orange line. But orange line, I think we ought to treat this the same as the silver.
I'd go one step further. I'd say if they're talking about any type of a casino type development, and there are examples in the greater DC Baltimore area, two that come immediately to mind. You've got the MGM complex just off the Beltway, just across the Potomac River from Alexandria. You also have the Arundel Mills Casino up around BWI Airport, a little south of there. There's a third option, lesser scale, out in Charlestown, West Virginia. I think even if you have the discussion about Silver Line, Orange Line, whatever, I believe what should be the position is we oppose casinos and these large-scale entertainment complexes anywhere in Fairfax County, period, just to be safe. I think, as you were describing, Innovation Station is maybe more likely than Reston for a variety of reasons. I think one of them, if you look at it, well, that would be kind of a perfect confluence. You've got an excellent east-west highway in the Dulles Toll Road and the Greenway, an excellent north-south highway in Route 28.
Yep.
You've got a dedicated exit off of Route 28 into Innovation, and you've got a metro station there. Can't do much better than that. Oh, by the way, you've also got an international airport just a couple miles west. So people could fly in, say, oh, I'll go stay at the hotel next to the casino over here at Innovation, spend a little money, and then go to my meeting the next day. Over.
So do we want to modify it along the Metro Rail Silver Line, Silver and Orange Line, or any place in Fairfax County?
But wait a minute, Lewis, isn't Innovation Station in Loudon?
It's on the border.
It is on the border. I think it's kind of a funny jurisdictional structure there because there's no physical barrier there. It's not like there's a river. There's just a line on a map, and you really have to look very closely at where that line is. Part of it is in Loudoun, and part of it is in Fairfax.
That
And I'm
upside
sure
down
that the
building
Say what?
wasn't that upside down building that was at the CIT Center, may still be, wasn't that in Fairfax and not allowed it?
I believe it is still in Fairfax County, yes. I think it's a situation where it seems like whatever the development community,
I'm
entertainment,
here.
data center, whatever wants, they seem to be getting it. And I'm sure their lobbyists in Richmond are, even as we speak, appropriately meeting with state senators and delegates and having dinner with them to make sure they understand the great, huge benefits to the Commonwealth of Virginia and particularly to Fairfax and Loudoun counties from approval of this project.
But I
Period.
guess.
There's a lot of money that would be generated from a big use like that. And some of the politicians will say, we're going to have huge budget deficits. We need to do this to get the money.
Well, and there is a big development that is being looked at right at Innovation Station. And I guess most of that development is in Loudoun County, is it not?
I believe it is. I believe that is.
There's a lot of vacant land around there, and much of that's on the Fairfax side. And part of the reason I think that it hasn't happened as fast as some of the others is that there's interjurisdictional coordination issues with transportation, and there had been some disagreements in the past about how all that was going to tie together. But I think Lou is absolutely right. There's tremendous potential there for a huge something. And it's maybe the prime site in the county for some big thing because of the metro, the transportation, the airport, and everything that's happened around it. And I think innovation will affect Sully folks as much as anything. But the idea of the resolution was a broader geographic area.
So going back, do we want to limit it to silver? How do we wish to treat it? So we could just leave it as silver, but I'm just concerned.
Well, what I think we could do, again, we don't know what the legislation says. I think the Reston folks, the McLean folks, the Vienna Town Council, and I think Vienna would have some orange line issues too. Everyone's focused on the silver line because everyone is talking about Comstock and Reston or possibly Tyson's or something else. If when the details come out, it has some orange line potential, then we'll speak up then.
But this is a presumptuous attack, a preventive attack, a prophylactic attack, and we don't know what they're coming up with. So I believe we ought to include both because we're making the assumption it's going to be the silver line. We don't know.
Yeah, I don't object to that. I just no one is talking about an orange line casino. They're talking about a silver line casino.
I understand, and that's what I'm saying. Is it better to be on record now that neither orange or silver?
And Jeff and Kathy, I think, can play it coy, and they can say, "Oh well, let the voters decide. Let's have a referendum." And then the casinos will spend millions on the commercials and, come to Fairfax and spend your money at the Silver Casino and, whatever. And it becomes a mishmash. I don't think we want that teed up for a referendum.
So where do we talk about and opposes the action by vision authorizing Fairfax referendum? And where do we say that we don't want, even if it is authorized, we don't want the referendum? Here, number 5. Okay, see it. I got it. Thank you. I just highlighted it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's both highlighted there, and then at the very end of the resolution, it says, well, we strongly oppose any actions to allow this to move forward. And I think that's what we're trying to say, is that don't even consider this. We don't want a referendum provided to us for consideration, period.
Is the EQAC need to be on this list as well? I'm just asking.
Well, I left them in because I thought they had been in on previous ones, and whatever this thing is, there's going to be environmental impacts from it. I think they're different in different places, but as Gene Packard would say, every land use case has environmental implications, and whether the casino is at Innovation or Reston or someplace else, there's going to be impervious surface and stormwater and traffic problems and everything else. And why not? They may have sensible observations about it.
Good enough. Then I'll keep it in there. I just was trying to find out. Okay. I'm going to add the orange and silver to both of the, every place where it says silver, we're going to add orange. And if this is approved, we'll send this out this week. Any comments?
Can I just mention this, Cynthia?
Yeah.
Can I just mention something that, well, firstly, the innovation station actually is physically in Fairfax County. But secondly, the fact that broadening the scope probably is a good idea, because I don't know if you've been to many casinos around the country, but they often run shuttle services from their metros or other public transportation facilities to their facilities. So you may not think of, having one in Chantilly as being an option, but if they have shuttle services between Innovation Station and Chantilly, then it is definitely an option. So just to keep that in mind. Thank you.
And we know that the National Harbor Casino at MGM isn't necessarily associated with any subway line. It's close to the Green Line, but it's not the Green Line, and they have to run shuttle buses and public transportation to get there. Is that not correct?
That is correct, but there also are some people in Maryland that say, why don't we extend the Green Line down to MGM Casino?
Well, the
National
National
Harbor.
Harbor has been talked about even before the MGM Grand was there. They were always talking about National Harbor being the logical extension of the Green Line.
Sure. Not only that, but you've got it that way, and you could also then, then we can have an extension across the Potomac River in the middle of the Woodrow Wilson Bridge, as it was designed to carry.
That would be a bad thing, as my mind goes. Okay.
Jim just emailed us a graphic showing the division, the Loudoun Fairfax thing, and it looks like Fairfax is which side it's on.
The station is in Fairfax, but the empty quarry is in Loudoun. And if you remember, before the pandemic times, there was a planned redevelopment of that quarry for residential, commercial apartments that focused in this area. If you see, that was in that area in Loudoun, that would be serviced by the station that was in Fairfax. And so,
I think there's room on both sides.
yes. Okay, so all the folks that here in favor of this motion, and I'll send out the resolution as it was with the changes I just indicated. All those say aye. I see a thumb. Do I see four
Aye.
thumbs? Okay. What if I hear Jay?
Aye.
Jim? Obviously. Jan? John? Yeah, I say. Okay, so we're going to accept this as a motion and we'll send it out. I'll work on that and get it out this week. The next item, I want to talk to the Chantilly Premier development, which is the site of near the Chantilly Auto Park. And I'm going to let Steve or Jay or Cynthia take the lead on that.
I'd be happy to. This is Cynthia. So currently, we have, or over the last 2 weeks, many of you may realize that we have formed a coalition with WFCCA, SDC, Virginia Run HOA, as well as Pleasant Valley. And we've met with several supervisors. I believe we had 6 meetings, one of which was with Kathy Smith after meeting with the other supervisors. We did get a very good sense that the other supervisors had some big concerns. The top concerns, and this isn't necessarily in their order, but size, because that drives everything, drives all of the adverse effects. The Occoquan Reservoir, the threat to the watershed, electricity, having an unknown substation transmission line requirement, were the top 3 that were listed. We did learn prior to going to these meetings that the Fairfax County Fire and Rescue hazardous materials program does use certain chemicals and foams in dealing with diesel fires and spills that are very hazardous to the waterways and include PFAs, which you may also know as forever chemicals. We also learned that the FAA, although that they can recommend that buildings do not encroach on critical air navigation space, that they are powerless to enforce that. They do rely on the localities to enforce that, and they did admit, and I think you guys also heard Mike Coyle admit from EMWA that those recommendations are not always adhered to. We also learned a lot about height in terms of data centers, that the more stories you add, the more cooling challenges you encounter. So you wind up with a lot more HVACs on a rooftop than you would for obviously a single or second story. So we brought all our concerns, which were boiled down into 4 separate concerns. The first one was for reduction in height, which would address a lot of the issues in terms of noise, HVACs, the number of generators that are needed, the threat to the FAA airspace, etc. The second being moving the generators, which it was shocking for me to learn that almost every supervisor took the hook, line, and sinker from the applicant, where they said that, oh, we can't put them on the east side away from the watershed because of the noise ordinance. But the noise ordinance exempts generators, and that's 108.1-5.1G does exempt generators. And so they were unaware of that, unfortunately. The other aspect of that was that the applicant had also said if they moved the generators to the other side, not only did they think it would violate the noise ordinance, which it doesn't, they thought they might have to encroach upon the RPA more, which obviously a smaller footprint would allow them, or maybe a more creative design would allow them not to do that. And then the third item we had asked for was the frequency octave band analysis study, so that they could ensure that they were not violating the board's responsibility to allow us to live without noise that jeopardizes our health. And then the fourth thing we asked for was to eliminate the warehouse as an option. We understand that this multi-part application includes not only the data center, but the warehouse as an option, which nowhere in the staff report do they discuss the very odd loop-de-loop they have to do through the Lafayette Business Center, which not only brings heavy truck traffic 24/7 within 220 yards of Pleasant Valley homes, but actually brings it within like 100 feet of some homes that are off Lafayette Center Drive that are actually in Loudoun County. So we did bring those concerns to them. As I said, they had kind of fallen into three categories, being the size, the Occoquan Reservoir, and the electrical requirements for the supervisors. Walkinshaw was more concerned with exactly what makes data centers different as an industry, and was focused on that. So he also had noise as an issue, but not all of them did. So those three are what we came up back with. We were a little shocked also that Kathy Smith was questioning the veracity of some of the photos that were taken from the balloon height test that they did eventually do after the Planning Commission hearing. So that was mitigated by me sending her originals. I also copied the clerk to the Board of Supervisors so that they have that on record. I think maybe she just anyway. So basically we are at the point where I'm going to send a follow-up to Kathy Smith, because our understanding from our last meeting with her was that she would attempt to communicate with the applicant our concerns. And let me just reiterate one thing. These concerns are not new. They have been presented over and over again since June. In the public meeting we had with Kathy, a lot of these questions came out. A lot of the information was provided at that point. We've had emails and correspondences. So none of this is new to her, but it's now been consolidated into a statement of community concerns. So we are probably hopeful. We are hopeful that some of the supervisors will probably not support this, but do we have enough? I don't know. I'd like to remain hopeful, but I can't say that we do. The last thing I did want to mention was I had done some research, and it does turn out that since 2021, it was 4.3 million square feet of data centers have been approved or been constructed by right from along Route 28 and down Route 50, basically in the Sully district, none of which are actually operational yet. They're either still being constructed or they are awaiting power. So that's, I believe, the summary, but anybody jump in if they have anything more to say.
Let me point out that I am the #1 speaker for the joint committee on the date that the discussion has been postponed. That's the 23rd of January. Let it also be known that I have jury duty for this current fortnight, and I may be called in at any time and unable to make that presentation. So I am willing to bequeath the #1 slot at the Board of Supervisors public hearing on this topic to somebody who might be able to speak in my absence if I can't get out of jury duty. Is there anybody who wishes to do so?
Well, I would love to, but I know I can't. So
Yeah,
I don't think this is. Go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
Steve.
No, I was just gonna say, I just signed up. I haven't received my number yet.
I'm number one.
You are. I've been saying that for a long time here.
That's when I
Yeah.
I rescheduled myself last week, and they said, "Oh, Mr. Barnes, you don't have to reschedule. You're number one from the original list, and we've just moved that over. Everybody else who signs up now follows everybody who signed up for the original one." So the question is, if somebody wishes to take my number one slot in case I'm stuck at a federal district court, hopefully on the jury box and not for some other reason, I'd be glad to put your name in, and I'll know probably a day before whether or not I'll be able to make the presentation.
Is it possible to substitute like that?
Yeah. I'm speaking for the Sully District Council on the Joint Committee. Therefore, if I can't make it, somebody else can move into my slot very easily.
Jeff,
I'm not speaking for myself.
Jeff, I was going to say, I don't know if you know what you would say, and I think it's always better to be there in person. But one option is if you did a video and you got it in by 9 o'clock Monday morning, they can use your video.
Yeah. But I'm not a video guy. My face, my physique is such that I'd much rather be in person and be at the table and talk to what they need to hear from me say. But I mean, I could do it if I know by Friday night that I have to be in court on Monday. There's a good chance I'll have to be in court on Tuesday as well. But
Jeff, I had signed up. I had signed up the last time, and I assume I'm still on the list. But
you are then.
I'm having surgery next week, and I was supposed to be the 22nd. I've got doctor's appointments instead. I got moved to the 25th, and I don't know that I'm really going to be able to do much of anything. I'm not very mobile right now anyway. So I would say I would do it if I thought I could. I don't think I can.
I understand. So if I need to, I will submit a video or the written testimony in person. It just seems to me that we do a better job when we're there in person.
Yes. Maybe John or Steve or Carol or somebody would do it. I mean, we've got other good folks.
There's some of them are here with us tonight.
I'm in class that day. I'm in class on the 22nd and 23rd up until 5 o'clock. So the chances of me getting there in time for a number one speaking slot.
I understand.
Slim.
Okay, I will.
Unfortunately, Jeff,
Go ahead.
unfortunately, I have a previous family commitment I made back in November.
Okay, all right then. Well, if I have to make a
Well, Jeff, I guess why don't you find out once you determine whether or not you're able to make it, once you reach out to me. I'm signed up anyway, so I will be presenting.
So basically, we have a resolution on this issue anyway, and I would just be making the points from the resolution. But I can play around with this, and I'll know Friday night whether they want me in. And all I can hope is it's not a 4-month case that some of these federal shebangs become. Okay.
Did Trump threaten anybody in Virginia or something?
Not yet. He will. He will. Give him the chance. I won't go into that's politics that I'm not going to mention. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we've heard this. We've heard Cheryl. We've heard other folks on this. We know our position. Let me go to the fourth item of the agenda and let us go from that one. There's a zoning ordinance amendment regarding outdoor regulations. We've missed the Board of the Planning Commission, but And I'm going to share something else to, if I can come over here and open this up, and I'll see if I can share, maximize. And I'm going to share my desktop, not my desktop, but okay, here. And I think, Jim, you were mentioning this before. What happened is the county during COVID made it possible to have outdoor dining. But that was during the period of COVID. And when the emergency COVID time passed, the zoning ordinances went back into effect. And so what they've tried to do is to enact that which worked in COVID and make it permanent. Jim, am I saying it right?
I think so.
Okay, so I don't think we have many comments on this, but if we do, the proposed zoning ordinance amendment is being considered, and they had public hearings and feedback situations. So if you want to hear about it, you can read all about it on this page, and it's just search for outdoor dining and proposed zoning amendment ordinance, and it'll show up on the website, the county's website, if you're interested in that. And so I'm going to stop this. No, I'm not going to stop this. I'm going to go to another page. And the other page I want to look at is, all right, let me stop here. And I'm going to I'm going to share something else now. And hold on. And for sharing purposes, I want to have people aware of this, that every year the Federation has a Citizen of the Year awards function. 2 years ago, the Citizen of the Year was John Litzenberger, a very esteemed John Litzenberger. Many people in Sully District have become Citizen of the Years or Citation of Merit awardees, honorees. The current period for nominations is until 31 January, or basically 2 weeks and 2 days. And so you have time to do that. If you go to the Fairfax County Federation, if you go to, where is it now? If you go to, let me check, what is it? Hold on now. If you go to fcfca.org for the Fairfax County Federation Citizens Association, go to org, you click on Citizen of the Year, and then you go down here, and there's a place where you can do it online. And when you do that, you're brought to here. So if you know of anybody who's worthy of being honored, whether it's land use or any function that you know in the county where somebody volunteers, I encourage you to submit their name. Lo and behold, John Litzenberger got his name submitted, and he was a Citizen of the Year. So there are many people in Sully who are worthy of being honored, but they won't be honored if we don't take the time to nominate them. And I encourage you to nominate the people you think who are worthy of being supported. One other item, so I'm going to stop this now, and then I'm going to share something else. 1 second, please. So some of us are familiar with each of our meetings that we have here is in fact videotaped. And amazingly enough, we have, and I will show, hold on now. I will show this in a second. And hold on, give me a second to get there and I will show this. Okay, hold on. Okay, so now I'm going to share this. 1 second. Share and files. Okay, so if you want to see any of these videos, okay, and I'm going to make this bigger and blow it up. Our videos are located both on our YouTube channel, and they're available in a folder called videos under the Sully District Council. So if you go to sullydistrict.org and /videos, the meetings are all held in this fashion. The date, 2003-11-20, and then if they're the joint Sully District and Land Use, MTG, MP4. So if I typed in and Control C and went to a web page and typed those into the web page, you could watch any one of these And so let me share something else. Stop sharing that and then share something else. Share Firefox. Okay. And start. So if I'm here, I'm at sullydistrict.org, not too many orgs, but org, right? And videos, and then I type in the date of the video, and let's say the last month's meeting was 2023-12, and it was 20, and then type in SDCCA MTG MP4, and I'll create a page that does this automatically. You get the video of our meeting. Any meeting that we've recorded that works, you get this, okay? It's the joint Sully District Council ones.
Invite the people.
Okay. So you don't want to hear my voice.
introduce
So let
themselves
me stop that.
To the audience on the street. And we'll start on the far end of this table.
Okay. All right. Enough of that. Okay. So my point being is that we have an archive of all our previous meetings. If you ever have to go back, they're online. So here's a meeting of a meeting, and we all look good. And I try to have this here, as you see, where we have the meeting in the room. So that's enough of that. But you can also go to YouTube and look for the Sully District Council, and we post our videos there as well. So there are two ways to get them. If you ever need to look back at an artifact, we have those artifacts. Okay, we're going to meet next month as well. We have Evelyn Spain was going to speak to us, our planning commission, but she has a problem that she has to ask our forbearance, and I'm working with her to get a date in the future. This month we have for the membership meeting, we're going to do fire and rescue. Karen Kaplan, the Sully Transportation Advisory Commissioner, will speak to us at the membership meeting in February. In March, we'll go with our normal budget committees, both the county and schools. Usually in May, we have the report from Richmond, and this will be interesting. We'll have a fewer reportees because we have not the 10 that we used to have, and we'll have newbies as well, so that will be interesting. June will invite Kathy Smith for our annual State of Sully, and so that leaves us basically April open. So if anybody has an idea of what we'd like to have at our April meeting, I'll take recommendations. You can chat them to me, or you can send them to me in a in a text or an email. And April is our open date at this time, assuming that Karen Kaplan can make it to our meeting in February. With that, does anybody else have any questions?
Jeff, I think earlier in the meeting you noted that the choices would be either fire and rescue or Fairfax County Police and maybe some of the other law enforcement. Would that be an option for the open month in the spring?
So we can do that. We can plan for fire and rescue in January and public safety in April. But I don't want to foreclose the April meeting until sometime in March in case something else unforeseen happens. And what happens here in Northern Virginia, unforeseen things become foreseen. And then we will work with the League of Women Voters, and see if we can work something out for our candidates' nights come the fall. But I think that's where we progress now. I want to thank you all. I looked outside. The roads seem to be clear. I imagine they're icy. I'm just as happy that we're meeting like this. And so if this happened, the pandemic did us one good thing. We were able to have these type of meetings. We weren't able to before the pandemic. And I and the Western Fairfax County Community Association for funding all the purchases of technical equipment that have made this possible. Thank you for doing that.
Thanks, guys.
And what's the public thing, is, and what Karen Kaplan was mentioned, she is a Transportation Advisory Commission.
Okay, right.
She follows in my position that I was not reappointed to in 2020. She was appointed in 2023 to that position. And I asked her to speak to us. She says, well, give me some time on the commission before I'm ready to speak to the commission. So I think she was appointed in 2023.
Could you ask her when she does come to kind of give us a short review of her personal and professional experience in that topical area?
I will say that Karen Kaplan served as co-chair of the Fairfax Federation's Transportation Committee with me, and she does have some experience in that. But we will ask her to give a short bio, introduce herself, and then go into the topics. And so that's a good point. We don't want to call her on the carpet, because if I actually was asked that back then, I'd tell everybody I was an amateur, and I always have been. But so, I had no technical experience.
Well, you actually do, because you spent some time as a taxi driver in New York City.
Yeah, I don't think that pertains anymore to this, or the fact that I wrote a trolley, the last trolley in New York City in 1957, before I was 7 years old. All those are good. In fact, Daria and her friends were in New York City this weekend to see some shows. And what did she bring me home? A little yellow taxi model. One of the ones which, if you pull back and let go, there's a little spring that makes it run across the table. And so that was 50 years ago, and she still buys me the taxi driver things and T-shirts with the New York City subway systems on it. What's that?
I think it was 60 years ago.
No, that was 72. I couldn't have driven it when I was 12, though my driving skills probably haven't improved that much from 12 to 22. But okay. In any case, with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, it is almost 9 o'clock. I wish you all. We'll see you in 9 days when where we're asking the fire and rescue folks to come out and speak to us. Okay? Thanks so much, guys and gals.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Hey, out here.